Madison, I know you're in the middle of the Spinnin Tour right now, so I greatly appreciate your time with us. Welcome to America's Dance 30 for the first time.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
It is so great finally meeting you. How has the tour been for you?
It's been amazing, honestly. We've been having so much fun. It's been such a whirlwind, but it's been incredible, really.
I bet. Now, do you have a favorite show that you've done so far?
Honestly, I think it's tough. All of them are so fun, so it's hard to pick a favorite, but so far in the US, I think that St. Louis and Detroit have been the loudest crowds and the most fun. But every show is amazing, but those are the ones that off the top of my head I remember so far have been pretty loud.
It's got to be insane right now for you doing these shows. Congratulations on Make You Mine. Going #1, not only on America's Dance 30 and Media Base, but also on the Billboard chart. That's amazing.
Thank you. It's unreal. Thanks.
Is Make You Mine your first #1 on the U.S. dance chart?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Even more meaningful celebrating it with you right now. Well, I can't wait to talk about how this song was born. But first, let's get to know Madison Beer a little better with Finky's Firsts.
Okay.
So I know you started doing covers as a teen, but is music the first thing you wanted to get into when you were growing up, or was there something else you wanted to be?
Always music was priority #1. I've been singing since I could talk, and I've just always loved music. It's always been what I've dreamed of doing. So definitely music.
So you're on the right path.
Yeah, my dreams are literally coming true. It's very, very cool.
That's so incredible. Now, as I mentioned, you're in the middle of your tour right now, but do you remember the first time you ever performed on stage?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know what would necessarily count. I think that the first time I ever probably really performed, I mean, I have a video of myself from when I was probably I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I was on stage. I did this after school class that was like this, they would teach you songs. We would do little mini plays and stuff. And I remember that was probably my first time on a stage, but then I went to summer camp and I was performing in all the plays there. But I probably my first real performance, I don't know. I was in School of Rock. You know what that is? That after school program.
Absolutely.
I was in that growing up. So we used to do things at little bars and whatnot when we were all, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. So yeah, I think those were my first gigs.
So at first I thought you were talking about the Jack Black movie. I'm like, I don't remember you in that movie at all.
No, not the movie, just the after school program.
Now, speaking of your performances, what's the first thing you do on show days? And what's the first thing you do when you get done performing?
The first thing I do on a show day, I think rest has become the most important thing for me, and just sleeping in, honestly, as long as I can, because once the day starts, it's quite long because I have a lot of VIP packages and experiences before the show. So I'm kind of going, a bit earlier in the day than just doing the concert. So I just try to honestly stay in bed and my bus as long as I can and just rest up as much as I possibly can to put on the best show that I can. And then it's funny, my dad and my family always jokes because they're like, it's miraculous how you can run off stage and it's like in lightning speed. You're back in your sweatpants and your makeup is off and the hair extensions are coming out. And I'm just like, I just can't wait to remove it all and unzip my tight dress. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's funny though. I should start timing myself. I could probably be back in my sweats in 10 seconds flat from the time I get off stage. So
we're totally the same because right after this interview, I'm taking my makeup off, the hair's coming out, everything's done. Absolutely. Now, speaking of your fans, do you remember the first fan experience you had?
I don't know if I can say I remember the first fan experience. I know I remember the first time I saw a fan account. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a fan page. This is crazy. And I think the real first time I was like, what is going on, was I grew up in Long Island, New York, and there's a huge mall there called Roosevelt Field that we all grew up going to. And one day I just felt like meeting people that might, I don't know, want to meet me. And so I tweeted something and was like, I'm going to be at the mall. And I was expecting maybe 5-10 people to be there, and just went with my dad. And there were literally hundreds and hundreds of people all around. And it was just such a shocking experience. But yeah, that was like the first time I remember being like, what is going on? This is ridiculous.
That is so
And I was
incredible.
only 13 then. It was crazy.
Well, in honor of Make You Mine going number one, do you remember the first song that you ever wrote?
I started writing music when I was super young as well. I mean, like I've been saying, I've always just been so obsessed with music and everything about it. And I grew up going to Miami Beach a lot. And I remember I would sit on the beach very, very young. I actually have a recording of myself. I was 6 years old. And the reason I know this is because in the song, one of the lyrics are, I'm 6 years old. And so I remember that was probably the first real song I ever wrote. And it was honestly not bad. It was called Butterfly. And I still have a recording of it somewhere.
Oh, you got to put that out.
I know. I should release it. Maybe one day.
Totally.
On an album, I'll put it on.
If you want to send it to me, I will blindly put it out if you want.
Okay. Deal.
Now, finally, in Finky's first, do you remember the first song that made you fall in love with music?
Oof, my goodness. That is definitely difficult. There's so many things coming to my head right now that I feel like were such staples, especially in my childhood. I honestly think, though, what really made me fall in love with music wasn't even a song specifically. I think that watching movies and TV shows and seeing how a song would change a scene or like elevate feelings of some kind, I feel like that is what made me fall in love with music, because I remember also being super into just like general cinema growing up. And yeah, I think that I would watch scenes of a film and just be floored by how the music would elevate everything. And that probably was more really like what made me be like, music is such a powerful, beautiful thing.
And speaking of that, it's got to be so amazing seeing how affected people are with your music. That's got to be an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, when I meet people every night on this tour and they tell me, a story about how a certain song might have affected them or how it touched them, it never gets old, and it's always something I'm so honored about. Like, that's the reason that I fell in love with music. So if I can make someone else feel like that, it's an honor.
Well, let's talk about this smash. How was Make You Mine born?
It's so funny that this song has achieved what it's achieved, because this song was honestly just made simply for fun. Like, it was not made with any intention of being, a big song of mine. I mean, once we made it, I will say, I was like, I have a feeling about this song, and it feels like something that I hope and think people are going to really like. And I knew from the moment it was done that it was a great song, in my opinion. But making it, it was just, I knew I was going on tour. Quite frankly, I knew I was going on tour. And I have a lot of ballads and a lot of slower tempo songs on my last album. And I was like, I kind of want another upbeat song that I can just play on the tour. And it was genuinely made for this tour. So if I wasn't on tour right now, I don't think that song would have ever been created. And then we just got in the studio, just me and my producer. And that's kind of not standard for us. Usually when we go in the studio to write a song, we have a couple more people and writers and a bunch of, it's like a whole big thing. And this night I just texted him and was like, can I just come in, just me and you, and can we throw some ideas around? And Make You Mine was born, and just us two worked on it. It took us only very few hours to make it. It flowed so easily. And yeah, immediately we both were like, what did we just create? This is so fun.
It's so funny that you talk about that, because when I was chatting with BB Rexa about I'm Good, Blue, and her making it with David Guetta, that was the same thing. They literally just made it for fun, and then it blows up to be one of the biggest songs ever.
Yeah, sometimes it's like how the best music's made, though, with no pressure, and there's nothing to, because in this industry, there's so much sometimes like, oh, we really need this type of song being delivered or whatever. And sometimes when you have no pressure, that's when you deliver the best thing, because you're just free, you're like, I'm just going to make what I feel like I want to make. And yeah, that's what we did.
And then it's the ones that you try that don't really do anything. Now, how long ago?
Unfortunately, that is the truth, yes.
How long ago did you guys work on it?
We made the song in like around Halloween, so not even that long ago.
Gotcha. And then something I love to find out about songs is how many different V's there are, from when you start working on it, all the tweaking that goes on, to when it's finally mastered and put out. Do you know what the final V was of Make You Mine?
So the first day we made the song, that demo does not sound very different from what came out. It's just very slight little production things that I tweaked, but like if I were to play you the first ever demo of it, you would notice very, very minimal changes. But we probably had like anywhere from 10 to 15 versions of it that were just little slight things, and then it went to mix. But sometimes I've had songs that have gotten in like the 50s of versions, and it's insane. You start to feel crazy at that point. You're like, what is going on? This is too much.
And then you usually go back to the earlier versions.
Right. Then you backpedal like 20 versions. Correct.
Well, congratulations on Make You Mine going number one. That is so incredible. Congratulations on the tour, Madison Beer. It is so awesome finally meeting you. Thank you for your time with us on America's Dance 30.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.